Hey, what's up? This is Adam Irigoyen here talking about my Netflix show Away coming out on September 4th, talking with Elias over in the Man Cave.
Welcome to another episode of the Man Cave Chronicles.
Welcome to the party, pal!
You're my boy, Blue!
Yo, Adrian!
A podcast with interviews of amazing guests from the world of pop culture.
Oh, yeah!
TV.
Nice!
Movies.
Oh, I love the movies!
Comedy and more. From deep inside the Man Cave, your host, Elias.
Adam, welcome to the cave.
Thanks so much for having me.
How are you, man? What's new with you?
I'm good, man. Watching my Heat get this dub over Indiana right now.
Are you enjoying the way they're doing basketball?
I am, honestly. I think the way that they've done the bubble has been really interesting. I think that for the fans at home, it's pretty much the same, and the intensity of the games has pretty much stayed up. So I can't complain.
I wonder what's going to happen when the season ends. I heard that they might just take a month and a half off, and they're going to go back at it again.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that this is going to probably shift the regular season dates from this point forward. I don't know, but that's all, post-corona, so we'll see.
Right. Speaking of corona and quarantine, how you been dealing with that?
As good as anyone can, really. Just been trying to take this time of life on pause and just better myself in any way I can. Educating myself, whether it's, continuing to try to get better at acting or educating myself on social issues or stuff like that. Just trying to, keep tip top.
That's right. So, yeah, speaking of the acting, man, the listeners know you from when you were young. You were on Disney's channels, Shake It Up. You've done recurring roles on shows like The Fosters and The Last Ship, Two Broke Girls. You got a decent list going on here, man. And now you're going to star in Netflix's Away, man. That's got to be exciting for you.
Yeah, I'm really pumped about it. I've been able to be blessed enough to have a pretty good career for up until now. I've worked really hard, and this show has definitely been one of the most exciting projects that I've been able to be a part of, just because of the whole cast, the people behind it, and just really the show itself. It's a really great show, and I'm just really happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, we'll talk about the show, but for the listeners first, I want to get to know a little bit more about you, man. Where are you originally from?
Originally, I'm from Miami, Florida.
How was it growing up there? Do you still live there?
No, so I live in LA. I moved out to LA when I was 11 years old. But then I came out here with just my parents and my little brother. So I would go back and forth along, pretty much once or twice a year. I consider myself bi-coastal at this point.
How old were you when you kind of had an idea that you wanted to get into the acting world?
I was 8 years old. I was
Wow.
really young. Yeah. I mean, I kind of attribute it to the fact that in Miami, I don't know how familiar you are with it, but there's a lot of hurricanes, especially this time of year, hurricane season. But so with that being said, most houses have shutters on their windows and doors. And every time my dad would come home from work, we would just, shut all the shutters and make it completely dark in the living room and just, put movie after movie after movie. And that's kind of like really how I fell in love with film. And, and I didn't know it then, but I really fell in love with the art of acting and storytelling. And, as I kept watching Disney Channel and, my own 8-year-old shows, I told my parents, I was like, that's, this is what I want to do. Like I know what I want. And, when you're 8 years old and you're telling your parents, what you want to do for the rest of your life, it's kind of,
Right.
it's a little interesting for sure. But
Yeah,
I harped on it for about 2 years before they even put me in an acting class.
Well, what were some of the movies like you were in love with at that age that you'd watch over and over in TV shows?
Well, I mean, I would honestly, I would watch anything my dad had on. But when I was younger, I mean, I loved the the Green Mile was, I think, my first real like favorite movie. Men of Honor with Cuba Gooding Jr., The Master of Disguise with Dana Carvey, cult classic.
I remember that. Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
yeah,
So how old were you when you started taking acting classes?
I was 10. It
Oh wow.
literally took, yeah, 2 years, and then my parents took me. They finally put me in an acting class out in downtown Miami, and I was there for about a year. And through that acting class, I was able to go and move out to LA with an agent and a manager. And originally I came out here with it was just me and my pops for 6 months, and it was to get it out of my system. And now I'm going on 12 years living here. I
Oh
actually
wow.
just passed 12 years living here.
That's awesome that your dad and your family like took the steps to help you with this at that young age, where they just packed everybody up and moved.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely not something I take for granted. What they did for me. What they did, a lot of parents, might not do. Not even because they don't want to, but financially they might not be in the position, and thankfully, to be able to be in that position, and my parents were able to kind of take that chance on me,
Yeah.
and I couldn't be more grateful.
How old were you when you got the part on Disney's Shake It Up?
So yeah, so I came out. So by the time I came out to LA, I was 11, and then when I started Shake It Up, it was maybe a month before my 13th birthday.
Oh wow. So that was pretty fast for just being there for less under 2 years.
Yeah, relatively quick for sure. It was, again, it all happened so fast, and I attribute it all to my parents taking a chance on me, and the people that I surrounded myself with, and I've been really fortunate to be able to be working for so long and have started to work so quickly.
So that show was pretty popular at Disney. How was it being on a show like that? And like, what was your favorite moment on the show?
It was great, man. That was pretty much, I always say that was like, the end of my middle school and the beginning of my high school years. So I got to spend it working on a set, doing what I love, having fun every week, learning dances, and just playing around. And it was great because there was just so many people involved that were so talented, and had already had these illustrious careers. Chris Thompson created the show. He had created Bosom Buddies, and worked on Laverne and Shirley, and shows of that caliber. And Joel Zwick was our main director, and he directed pretty much every episode of Full House. And so there was a lot of people involved that obviously knew what they were doing. And to be on a set that young and surrounded by the caliber of people that I was fortunate enough to work with. It was a great experience, and I learned so much from that set. I learned a lot that I carry on into today.
That's awesome. So now, yeah, man, we mentioned earlier Netflix is away. You mentioned how you were excited about this project. For the listeners, real quick, give them a little what the show's about.
Yeah, so basically, the show is based around surrounds Hillary Swank and this group of astronauts that go on the first manned mission to Mars. And the show deals with that mission, but also with those relationships of the families that they're leaving back home, mainly Hillary's family, her husband and her daughter. And it goes through that storyline. And I play Isaac, who is, this high school kid, the 17-year-old kid that Alexis, Hillary's daughter on the show, meets and kind of grows a connection with.
When you read the script, what was your reaction to this?
It was interesting, man, because like when I first read any piece of it, it was just my audition sides, and I thought that they were really really well done. Because what, no matter what you're auditioning for, sometimes to get a piece of really good writing to audition for sometimes can be hard to come by, and this was really great writing. So just that's what really struck a chord with me immediately. And I just, from that point forward, I just was not disappointed, episode by episode. As I would read each one, it was, I've kind of already played that active fan,
Yeah.
viewer role, because as you get the script, you go, okay, what's happening this week? Okay, what's happening now? And it's really great to see this beautiful story unfold.
Was this audition a self tape or was it a live?
The audition for this was actually really funny. So what happened was, I hadn't had. I mean, it was like a dry period, I think, in the industry, like just right before. At least it was for me, and as far as audition wise, and for whatever reason, that day, the day that I had my audition for Away, I also had like 4 other auditions. So I was like, yeah, I know. When it rains, it pours, right? So I was like, it was like the busiest day that I'd had in like 2-3 months. So I was super pumped, and yeah, and then I went to the audition room. I was really excited. The casting director seemed to like me, and I thought that was it. So I was able to go in the room for that. And then when they called me back, I didn't really know what was going to happen, because they called me and they said, okay, well, we want to see you. They want to see you tomorrow, and you're going to be going to a production office in Santa Monica. And I was like, all right, cool. And then they called me about an hour later. They're like, actually, well, now you're not going to be going to Santa Monica anymore. Now you're going to be going to Canada. And I was like, oh, okay, wow. And so I ended up going to Canada, not the next day, but a couple days after. And I literally flew in from LAX to Vancouver, auditioned. I did a screen test with Talitha, who plays Alexis on the show. And I hung out there for a couple hours, and then I flew back to LA. And all round trip one day. And it was honestly experiences I've ever had. And I was just really happy and nervous the whole time.
That's awesome. Like, so you had 4 auditions that day. Like, did you get offers for any of the other auditions? Like, what happened?
No, I think of the 3 of the other of the all the ones that I had auditioned for that day, I think the only one that I got any traction on was Away. And no complaints here, because
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm curious to see, like, so you go off for 4. What if you get two of them? Like, how do you pick which one you want to do? Or can you do both? Like.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends. It's I think that's kind of like every actor's personal choice at that point, whether what project they choose to work on,
Right.
whether it be the script, or the producers, or the cast involved. There's a lot of factors that go into making a decision like that, and thankfully, this was a fairly easy one.
So you play Isaac. How would you describe him?
Yeah, he's this really sweet, genuine kid who is trying to do his best to help Alexis cope with her really overwhelming circumstances. She's going right now. She's dealing with her mom leaving for 3 years. Possibly never seeing her again, depending on how the journey goes. So it's she's got a lot on her plate, and her home life is definitely different, and so she kind of finds her solace in our relationship, and I really take that to heart and really take it on my own shoulders to make sure that she is able to cope and and not overwhelmed when the circumstances can be so overwhelming.
Did you find any challenges playing the character? Like connecting with them.
No, I mean, usually like one of the first things that I do is whenever I kind of start on a new character is try to figure out, how they're different from me, how they're the same, and really highlight the points in which, I need to work on this, or maybe I don't need to work on this as much because, that's already a part of, who Adam is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's stuff like that.
Mm. So the cast, man, like you said, you mentioned Hillary Swank, and you even got like Just Charles. He's pretty big too. Like, how was it working with like, people like that?
I mean, it was amazing. Honestly, I unfortunately was not able to work with Hillary, just because logistically, I wasn't in space and
Right,
she
right,
was the
right.
whole time. So I didn't have any scenes with her, but I did have a bunch of scenes with Josh, who was just a treat to work with. He's such an experienced and he's such an experienced guy, just to be able to work with him and learn from him and see, how he acts on a set and just, pick up tips and tricks along the way. I mean, those things are invaluable, especially with a cast like this.
So in season one, without spoiling for the listeners, was there like a small scene or something that sticks out the most that was like your favorite that you were in?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I think there's there's a couple moments, to be honest with you. I think there's a scene where the first time I meet Josh, my character first meets Josh's character. I think that's a really good moment. But I think definitely the episode that stands out to me, I believe it. I want to say it's the fifth episode, where I sort of take Alexis on a date, you know. Past her curfew, and it's the first time you start to really like think, okay, what are this guy's intentions, what are his motives, what's his game plan here, and it's the first real episode where you get to see the heart of Isaac, and you really get to see what's on his mind and the way he's helping Alexis, and that episode to me is really special.
How long did it take to film season one?
Well, we ended in February, a month before shutdown, which was, opportune for sure. And I started sometime in the beginning of end of September, beginning of October, and I think they had been already working on it a month and a half prior.
That's awesome. And yeah, and it premieres September 4th, 5th. Am I
Yes,
correct?
sir. September 4th.
I mean, it's got to be awesome going on a Netflix show. Like, what's your feelings on the whole streaming era that we're in?
I mean, I love it. I think it's great. I've been a proud customer of Netflix since they delivered DVDs to the
That's
mailbox
right. That's
when
right.
they first started. So I honestly love it. I think it's great. I just my only not concern with it, but my only real thing is I just want to make sure that that the theatrical release never dies out. I think that there's something really special about going to a movie theater and watching, any film in a just as a great cinematic experience. I don't think there's anything that beats that.
Yeah.
But I do love Netflix. I do love the fact that, especially in times like this, you can just binge whatever and move on. It's really great.
Mm. So throughout like your acting career and everything, like, have you thought about like a dream role that you're hoping you could play someday?
Um, yeah, I mean, I've definitely had a few throughout the years. One kind of dream role that I've always kind of played around with the idea of is, DC Comics has that superhero Blue Beetle. Jaime Reyes. He's like, it would be like the first Hispanic superhero on screen. I think that would be pretty gnarly. There's also, there's a couple movies right now. One specifically that I have my eye on that, I would love to be a part of, and yeah, that would be my dream. It's called Creative Violence with Daniel Craig. Yeah, that would be probably the dream for sure.
What about like if you could work with somebody, who do you hope you could work with someday with?
Oh man, there's so many people. I think right now to work with somebody like the likes of Adam Driver, Bryan Cranston, those guys are to me just like unreal, and then you have people like that are just no-brainers. You have Denzel, you have Tom Hanks, just so many people that are talented and have had all these illustrious careers. Like for me, I relish in the idea of getting on a stage or in front of a camera with anybody and just having the opportunity to throw down in a scene and just really have fun.
What's your I read an article the other day. What's your feelings about like all these movies that are getting like remade?
I mean, I think it is what it is. I think that some do better than others, to be completely honest. I think some are made to be, some remakes are sometimes better. For the most part, I don't think that they are. I think I don't know. I'm very much about something new and something original. Especially if something has been done before and has been successful. I don't think that should be a reason to redo it.
Right. I get mad when I see articles for like Back to the Future or something like that. Like, no, like leave it alone.
Yeah, there's some stuff that just you can't touch. Back to the Future, I feel like, is one of those things. I read somewhere one time that they were thinking about possibly redoing Harry Potter, and I'm like, don't do that. You know what I mean? It's just like, nobody's asking for it. Like we have the DVDs, we have the Blu-rays.
Right.
We don't need it.
Is there any other projects that you got coming out after this that were filmed or anything before the whole quarantine started? What's the next step for you?
Yeah, before Away, I had filmed a film called Centurion, and that as far as release date, because of due to everything going on with COVID and stuff like that, but that should be coming out pretty shortly. And that was also another experience.
Adam, how can the listeners find you on social media?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram, just at Adam Irigoyen, and I'm pretty much on there as much as I can be.
All right, Adam, man, this was fun. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
That's a wrap. That's a wrap, everybody. That's a wrap.
Thanks for listening to the Man Cave Chronicles podcast.
I finally get my man cave.
You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at the MCC Podcast and our website, themccpodcast.com. Until next time.